Is retirement really broken? Because if it's not, explain why 80-year-olds are still working and why their kids are financially sandwiched between them and their kids. And why our kids may never ever see generational wealth if nothing changes. See, families are always meant to be the safety net, but not without training though, not without preparation or playbook. And how could they have one? Especially when there is virtually zero financial literacy taught in this country. So in this episode, I'm gonna break down why retirement is actually broken and what I've learned from decades of working with families and retirees, and most importantly, what you need to do right now to protect your own control, your own dignity, and to maintain your options. So before we get into it, drop family in the comment section below if this affects you or someone you love. Now let's get into it, starting in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hey, 7-figure squad, what we go, run it up, run it up.
What's cracking, everybody? Money Smart Guy Matt Zapala here, hailing to you from Dallas, Texas. And if this is your first time here at the 7-Figure Squad YouTube channel, we talk faith, we talk finance, we talk family, because money problems don't stay on the spreadsheet. They show up on the kitchen table. And real quick, drop sandwich in the comment section below if you feel caught with helping your own parents and supporting your kids at the same time. All right, let's talk about why retirement is really broken. We now live in a country where 80-year-olds are still working, not for purpose, not for passion, because they don't have a choice. Their kids in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and guess what? They're still working too, not just to survive, but to help their parents. And at the same time, they're helping their own kids stay afloat. We have 3 generations for the first time in America working all at once. And that's not progress, that's pressure. So let's be clear. Families were always meant to support families. I mean, that's biblical. That's cultural. Shoot, that's human. The problem isn't family responsibility. The problem is expecting families to manage retirement, to manage healthcare, to manage taxes, to manage longevity, all without training, all without preparation, or without a playbook on how to do that. See, we don't teach this in school. Not budgeting, not retirement income, not healthcare planning, not taxes. So we hand people adult-sized financial responsibility with child-sized financial literacy. And families feel the consequences first. Now, government was never meant to fund your retirement. You're saying, well, Matt, what about Social Security? Well, Social Security was designed as a supplement in 1935 by FDR, not as a solution. At best, it replaced about 40%, perhaps, of income. But here's what's changed. In 1978, the 401k was introduced. By the early 1980s, it began replacing pensions across corporate America. Now, that shift moved retirement responsibility from companies that employed their employees with teams, systems, and longevity planning to workers who were never trained for it. But yet they got the same responsibility. Less structure, you got more risk, and this is where control matters. I had a client in Chicago, a retired engineer from United Airlines. He did everything right by the rules of his time. He had a pension, he trusted the system, and very little investments saved outside of it. And then in 2002, United Airlines files for bankruptcy. Then years later, this same client, his pension check was cut by a third. Overnight, his income dropped, and he had no control because the plan wasn't his. When your retirement is tied to somebody else's balance sheet or decision-making process, somebody else's boardroom, somebody else's thought process, your future can change without your permission. That's why this channel exists. Not to bash pensions, not to hype 401ks, but to teach control. My first 5 years in this business, I worked almost exclusively with people 65 and older. Now, this wasn't theory. I saw people who planned early and people who waited too long to plan. I saw dignity, I saw panic. And I didn't just learn this with clients. I lived it with my own mother. I helped my own mother speak with her pension board. And they were quite surprised when I knew what questions to ask. Because of planning, we started back in 2001. I've since retired my mother. She's now living her golden years in dignity in a retirement community. And by the way, side note, everybody at that retirement community thinks she's the help, not the tenant. Interesting, huh? Now, this is all funded by preparation, not panicking. And my mom, she's been my favorite client. That's why I wrote the book, Gotcha. When people don't plan, we don't do strategy. You know what we do? We do reactive planning. And that's when you just get real familiar, sadly, with Medicaid planning. And let me be clear. Medicaid planning is not retirement planning. It's survival. Now, the state requires you to spend down nearly everything first. Then they sign you the next available bed. It might be across the state. and your Social Security, that gets reassigned. That's not choice. That's not control. That's dependency. Now, here's the math. The average American has just under $90,000 saved for retirement. Now, what are healthcare costs today? Home healthcare costs between $65,000 and $75,000 a year. If you go in and have assisted living, between $55,000 and $60,000 a year. If you need nursing care, round-the-clock care, 12-hour care, 24 care, $100,000 plus annually. We just buried a client who had round-the-clock care for the last 18 months. They spent over $200,000 for that care. Now, see, that math doesn't work. And when it fails, families feel it first. Anytime you want to understand a broken system, don't look at intentions. Look at incentives. See, debt benefits banks. Longer working lives benefit corporations. Financial stress benefits political leverage. That's not conspiracy. That's outcome. You see, financially independent people are harder to control. Financially stressed people are easier to manage. And the ones who pay the price? Families, people like you and I. See, most people don't fail because they're lazy. Matter of fact, I think a lot of people are naturally hard workers. They fail because they wait. Waiting feels responsible. Yeah, I'm waiting on God, right? Waiting feels safe. I'm waiting for the right moment. But waiting is what destroys families later. See, this got you number 5, which is procrastination. Most families don't lose money, they lose time. So let's talk about action. What can you do to start right now to turn things around? Takeaway number 1, I hope that you get from this, is stop relying on one system. If your retirement depends on one source, if it depends on Social Security or a pension or one 401k account, you don't have a plan, you have risk. You don't have a strategy. You see, control starts with diversifying income sources, not just accounts. Number 2, if your plan only works when you're healthy, that's not a plan. That's hope in the perfect life. Healthcare exposure breaks more retirements. It implodes homes. It takes over people more than market volatility ever will. Number 3, that 401k balance on paper, it's not all yours. Part of it belongs to the IRS forever. And depending on where you live, cousin Illinois or cousin California or cousin New York, the state may want their cut too. Now, don't confuse account balance, whatever is in there, with your ownership. And your returns, they're temporary. Now, control, especially after taxes, now that's permanent. If you can't explain your plan to your spouse or your kids, you're just winging it. Or you don't understand your own plan well enough yet. You see, education is the first asset every family needs. Now, how do you get it? You either seek guidance from people who do this every day, or you learn the system deeply enough to help others while building your own economic mobility. Doing nothing is the most expensive option. You see, families were always meant to be the safety net. But again, not without training, not without preparation, or without a playbook. That's why retirement feels broken. Not because families failed, but because families were never taught the rules. Now, if this conversation hit home for you, whether you're looking for guidance for your own family or you feel called to learn this whole minutia and help other people, you'll find the next step in the description below. No pressure, no hype, just education and just options. And that's what the 7-Figure Squad is all about, maintaining control. This video added value to you. Make sure you hit like to this video and subscribe to our channel. And I appreciate you and thank you for watching. From Dallas, Texas, I'm your Money Smart guy. And until we meet again, continue to live smart, continue to love smart, and be money smart today.